And I don't really have the tools to rise above that always.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Good question. Because what you're really saying is, who is the master of my mind? And if you remember, tap, tap, Kelly, tap, tap, I am the master of my mind.
I'm the master of my mind.
And you're the one who programs this supercomputer. And at any moment, one of the quickest ways to get yourself back into holding the consciousness is to use what I call an empowering question. Mm-hmm. And by doing that, you say, why is it that it is so easy for me to stay in higher consciousness? Just ask that. Why is it?
Why is it so easy for me to stay in higher consciousness?
Yeah, why is it so easy for me to stay in higher consciousness? Because the brain is a search engine. Now your brain's going, well, why is it so easy? Let me find all the ways. Where are all the answers? So use this technique for people who want to stay with a fitness program. You can say, why is it that it's so easy for me to get to the gym 4 times a week? Why is it so easy for me to eat a healthy, nutritious diet? Whatever it is you're working on, why is it so easy for me to make money that is abundant and to save it and invest it and do a really good job with all of that? Wow. So these empowering questions tell the brain, go find the answer for me.
How about that?
Great, thank you.
Is that awesome?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. People in my life have often accused me of living in La La Land, and I enjoy that place. It helps to see me through rough times and struggles.
Let's define La La Land for a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
Seeing the best in everything.
Okay.
Learning the lesson that's in the moment instead of getting dragged down by it. Forgiving myself or somebody that has hurt me, or any of those areas where I just try and stay present and move forward instead of getting stuck. But when I'm criticized repeatedly for that kind of happiness, if you will, then eventually my guard comes down and they penetrate, and I see less of myself, and I operate at a different level.
You know, what came up for me in listening to you, Kelly, is who is it that has that much access to you? Or that you may allow that much access to you to have that kind of expression in your life? So who has that access to you to be able to do that?
The people that are most important to me.
The people that are most important to you. And what makes those people most important to you? Who gave them that importance?
I did.
Okay. Do you recognize that you're also, and you can love them, you get that they're people that are close to you that you can love, but when I assign them a level of importance, I'm also assigning that importance to their opinions as well. Even if those opinions are not congruent with what's true for me. Is that what's happening?
Yes.
Okay. So is it all right? Would it be all right with you to reassign them a different space in your world? And I'm talking about having access to your mental and emotional world such that their thought pollution, becomes your secondhand smoke and your secondhand cancer. What would it look like for you to choose to not have their opinions of you become your spiritual diet? What would that look like? What would be at stake for you?
I couldn't sabotage myself anymore. I couldn't give in to them in order to... What's coming up for me is that it's a cop-out for me. It gives me an excuse to go to the place that I'm really wanting to beat myself up. So when I let them in, it's maybe where I'm wanting to be, and I can just go there and not believe in myself. Yeah.
Oh, did you hear that? So then I want you to get this, because this is really heavy. That you're using them as your out for living in this world that you really believe is possible.
Yeah. Yes.
You use them because,
I'm using them.
yeah, because that shows how powerful you are. Do you get that? Because it can be convenient. This can be convenient for, me to put it out there on someone else. But perhaps there's a stopping point that you said, I'm only going to have this so much happiness, and then I'm
search
going
them
to
out.
default and find the ones. I'm going to collect evidence in the people that I call important to prove that I can't go to another level.
Yes, absolutely.
Is that what you're doing?
That's what I'm doing.
Wow. So I've got the best coaching
Yeah.
that I could possibly give you. You
Okay.
ready?
I'm ready.
Stop it. You got to stop that. I mean, that's a simple, you know what? Because what you're really interacting with is your own inner conversation projected out into some form called people that are important to you.
Yes.
It's your own inner conversation.
I see that now.
You get that?
I do.
And what would be possible if you shifted that inner conversation to be the following? I don't need others to justify how happy I can be. I don't need others to prove for me that I can't be more joyful, more prosperous, more abundant. I don't need others to disprove for me that that's not possible.
Yeah.
You got it?
Life would be remarkable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And life is remarkable as you choose to let yourself stand more good.
That's
You
it.
know, how much of this goodness can you stand to have before you sabatage yourself? You're on a roll.
It's scary.
It's scary.
It's scary
No,
to be
so
having
give me
too
the
good of a
scary-
life.
Wait. Give me the scariest possible good life you can have. The scariest possible good life you can have.
Uber successful.
Well, what? No, put a picture to it. What would that look like? I want you all to hear this. This is good. This is good because this is what we actually do. I was listening to Dr. Wade earlier talking about the Oprah Show phone call. There was a point at which she could have copped out, taken the lesser salary, demonstrated for herself that she could only go so far. But she gave herself permission to imagine life past that boundary. So what would that life look like for you? I mean, in its most brilliant sense.
I would be an artist.
Okay.
I would be a published author of children's books.
Okay. Wow.
I would live in a beautiful house,
Wonderful.
and I would absolutely love what I do day in and day out.
Okay. So now try on, I love my new life as,
I love my new life as
and finish the sentence.
an artist and a published children's book author, and an essence of love for the world.
Now guess who decides whether you're an author or not?
Me.
Yeah. Do you realize authorship begins with the thought? There are writers. Every writer is not an author. Do you understand that? Because it's the idea, it's the concept, it's the vision that you have for children's books. Can you see that?
Yes.
And that's coming to you uniquely for you. So now the formation of that is just the play you get to do in order to have this vision that's coming through you for children's book to come in the world. So would it be all right with you that if this was not just for your own enjoyment?
It would be miraculous.
Yeah, what if there were some children
I would love that.
who would really love another story
Now I'll
other
cry.
than, the Cat in the Hat?
That's what I
I
want to
don't have anything against Dr. Seuss, so Dr. Seuss fans, please don't write me. All right? So would you be willing
I
to
would
just
be
step
more than
step
willing.
into that and
I would
stop
love to do that.
using your folks as an out
Yeah.
for your own magnificence? Would that be all right
Yes,
with
I
you?
would. Yes,
All right,
absolutely.
let's give it a try. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you so much. Thank you. Could you see that though? And it's subtle. It's very subtle. because it has a texture and it has a feeling and it's convenient. And I suspect that some of these important people are a family and friends and people that we've known for a while, right? But the fact is, I assign them that importance. Even Jesus, he was out doing his thing. He's teaching. And his mother and family shows up and ask him to get on out here. Come out here with us. And Jesus said, hey, to paraphrase, because he didn't actually say it this way, but who is my mother and my brother? This is my family here. He did not allow himself to be thrown off purpose, even by blood relatives, even by his mother, because he recognized that he was here to be first and foremost in service to his purpose. Have you got that? And that becomes the most important assignment one gives himself. When I let myself be in service to that purpose. Yeah? Well, I'm excited for you. I'd like to check in with you like over the next 4 weeks. Let's just see where you are with that, okay? Thank you so much. Okay, do we have another question? We had one over the break. You want to come up, Gerald? Okay. Mm-hmm.
Carry me out here, you know.
It'll be my pleasure. Okay, and you're going to hold it. Just don't hold it at the bottom. Okay, yeah. So what's your question? Where are you feeling stuck?
I have attended Unity churches off and on since 1975.
Okay.
And like Kelly,
You may want to raise it. Let's try that again. Where do you feel stuck?
I've attended Unity churches off and on since 1975. And like Kelly, once in a while people accuse me of being in la land, and I always am able to deal with those things, no problem. Recently, I had a very traumatic event take place in my family. And it's been really difficult to get back on track. So that's the question. How do you refocus yourself when you have something really traumatic happen to you?
Let's take a breath.
And you know what it is. You may share. I'm okay with that.
Why don't you?
I don't know if I can.
But that's the point. That's the point. You get that? While he's collecting himself, it's important that you feel what you feel. When I allow myself to feel what I feel, I can eventually move through the feeling onto another feeling. But if I trap myself or withhold myself from what's energetically seeking to press through me, I am stunning my own healing process. You get that? That energy has to move. Energy has to have that opportunity to express. All right? So let's just be with each other in this way.
Logically, I understand everything you just said. Just emotionally, it's hard for me to, at my age, I don't break down in front of people. It's not the way I was raised. You just don't do this. It's hard to get this out without doing that.
Let me ask you,
Yes.
what if this concept of yourself as someone who can't express his real emotions in public or privately or whatever is keeping you from moving through this experience? What if you could try on another concept of yourself called, there is power in my vulnerability? There is strength in my vulnerability. What if that was just a possibility for you? There is strength in my vulnerability. There's a great image of Bishop Desmond Tutu. How many of you know Desmond Tutu? And Desmond Tutu is in tears. He's sobbing. He is just weeping openly for the tragic events that were taking place in South Africa. It didn't make him any less of a man. It didn't make him any less strong. It actually made him more human. That we got in touch with his humanity, and it connected us into the plight of what was going on. Remember the last principle, we're all one? I wish you were the only person who had this story, but you're not the only one who has this story.
I do unfortunately know that's true. In fact, this lady over here shared a story with me during break.
Yeah.
Brought my
So what's happening?
18-year-old grandson, moved down here with us about 3 months ago. And he killed himself. I feel like a part of me died with him. Just having trouble recovering.
What part of you died with him? Or that you feel died with him?
My ambition,
What was his name? What was his name?
Jonathan,
Jonathan. What part of you died with Jonathan?
my just willingness to go on. I mean, he never gave me a chance to help him. And I realized I couldn't have any control over what he did, but and like this lady over here, her daughter lost her child too. Yeah, the sharing of this certainly helps, but I just hate telling anybody. I was a lady in church, they asked me where my grandson was. He came to church one day, and she says, "Where's your grandson?" She was right in front of me, and I almost lost it right there. Because I haven't been back to church for a while because everybody's so helpful. They want to hug you and tell you how sorry they are, and I just burst into tears and run out the door. So I've been able to kind of deal with it the last few weeks. And then today she asked me that question, "Where's your grandson?" And
So what if you burst into tears? What if you burst into tears and stay with where you are with that? Okay? Because the avoiding, it's the avoiding the pain that makes the pain grow. It's the being in the pain and the recognizing that underneath that pain, there's a way out of it. There is actually a way out of this pain that you're experiencing right now, but it doesn't feel like it. Now, I know how you must feel, just given what I'm hearing and knowing you, that it's hard to think about business. It's hard to think about anything but the guilt of not being there for him.
this is
And,
true.
and being with the experience that his suicide happened to you. Do you realize that that's how you're
Yes.
interpreting it?
Yes.
You're interpreting it as though this happened to you. It's a part of your experience. It is a part of your experience, but it didn't happen to you. You were a witness to something that occurred to someone you love. You got that?
Yes.
Can you still love Jonathan?
Oh, I do.
Yeah? And if you were able to allow his life to be something worthwhile, what would you be up to in terms of moving forward with your own life so that his life was not in vain? What would you be up to in your life?
Back to what I was doing before.
Why?
Moving on.
But what is moving on?
Living my life again.
Okay.
Not stopping with my life, which is what I've been doing, is stopping.
Okay, in that you're not stopping with your life and you're moving on, what would honor Jonathan's life that is really a part of the core of who you are? Because see, this is the gift that you give back to Jonathan and you give back to all the other Jonathans out there. And what would that be?
I was telling this lady over here during the break that
You're referring to Dr. Wade.
I am, yes. That we had a wake for him about a month after he passed. And at my son's home, his dad's home, looked out the window and there was about, I would say 8 or 10 teenagers showed up, all dressed in black. At my age, I'm kind of afraid of teenagers a little bit, not really wanting too much to do with them. They scare me a little bit. They all gathered in the backyard in a big circle and were kind of talking to each other very quietly. And the grandfather and I said to each other, so we should go talk to them. I said, I don't want to talk to them. I just don't want to deal with it. So he walked out and I went with him and we started, and that was the most cathartic experience of the whole day for me. It was talking to those other kids. They just didn't understand how we could do something like that. They were all, you know, how teenagers can be sometimes. The world's terrible, my parents are horrible, and so to answer your question, that was very, very helpful for me, and I would like to do some more of that.
So let's go back to Jonathan for a minute.
Yes.
Let's go back to Jonathan for a minute. So even if, I want you to just, even if you could have said something to Jonathan, was he a teenager?
Yes.
Okay.
18.
Even if you could have said something to Jonathan, perhaps you didn't, you may not have had the words because you were afraid of teenagers. Do you realize that? So the birth, the possibility that opens up out of this for you is called a new chapter in your life, called busting through this conversation about connecting with anyone, because we're all, come on, one. And what Jonathan needs from you now is to send a message to the other Jonathans of the world called "You Matter." You get that?
Every one of them, yes.
That's as simple as I can boil it down. And if your life is about anything and honoring Jonathan, it's about being in the conversation of every life you touch. And so what? They make you afraid. They shouldn't frighten you enough to be able to get the message across to them that you matter, your life has value, and there is a way for you to get past this. That's a gift that will keep on giving. Can you see that?
I can, yes.
Now, what if you could kind of bring Jonathan in with you? Maybe as a foundation, establish something in his honor, but allow this to be the meaning and the message and the way his life gets to continuously be in service. That it busted you through your own fears around being with teenagers. I don't even want to go into how your life was as a teen. We don't want to do that. But I suspect they weren't the best years of your life.
Never not.
I got it. Okay. So would it be all right with you if you, in looking forward, not looking with guilt, but looking from a place of possibility, right? Of what it would mean to give Jonathan's life another shot by all the other Jonathans out there. So on that note, I want to give you an assignment.
All right.
This is a goodie, and you can do this one too. There's a short book called Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Have you read
I
that?
have, years and years ago.
Why don't you read it now in this new context? And go and teach all the seagulls how to be Jonathans. How about that?
That would be probably a good thing.
All right.
May I say something good about you now, before I leave?
Well, you know, I'm so modest.
I'm fully aware of that, but you deserve this. Doctor had no idea that I lost my grandson when she mentioned her suicide, that she said up here. But I'm sitting back here next to Kelly, and it just took my breath away, and I went, and I looked at you, and you looked right back at me, you knew. It meant a lot. Thank you.
You got it. Let's give him some love. Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you.
I would reconnect with that story, though. I think that would be really powerful.
I forgot your name, sir.
Gerald.
Gerald. This is totally unexpected, so I was not expecting to be sitting up here as the producer with Kevin. But I wanted to just piggyback on what Gerald was saying. And thank you, Kevin, for that beautiful working him through that and working us all through that, because Gerald, just so you understand, as soon as you opened up and shared that your story, your grandson, I burst out into tears in the back. And Kevin knows why, and the reason why is because my partner committed suicide almost 7 years ago. And I know that pain. I always say, and I've been on both sides, I call it on both sides of suicide, where I had a time in my life where I've tried to kill myself twice. When I lost everything, and I was the big-time producer at Oprah, and I lost everything, to drugs and everything else, and thought my life was over. But I never understood the other side of suicide until Brad left me. And so your courage in sharing that really inspired me. I'm used to being behind the scenes, to come up here and just thank you and thank Kevin. And the other thank you is the day that happened, it's just interesting how life works. The first call I made that day was to that man over there, James Trapp. And I don't really have a question, but it is a thank you, because these principles, they've really changed my life. They really have. And I'm just honored to be working with people like Kevin and James and Brenda, because I think what we're trying to show people is that this is the way to really liberate your spirit. And that's not even a plug. And I think about getting in touch with the feelings and feeling it, and everyone's bravery who's either watching this or texting or emailing or whatever. It's really true, and I just want to say thank you, Kevin, because Kevin is a friend. He's been a client for me, and Kevin and I have gone at it a few times. But what I will say about Kevin, someone asked me to characterize my relationship with Kevin Ross, and I said, I have 4 brothers, but he's the true brother. I just want the best to happen for her in the world. And seeing you up here, doing what you're doing, I'm just so full of love. And thank you.
Thank you.
And thank all of you.
Sharing beautifully. Thank you, LeGrand. Come on. That's just that energy. So thank you, LeGrand. That goes to that 5th point, that we're all one, that we are sharing a common story, that pain does not know race or color or creed or ethnicity or religion. It doesn't know any of that. And so when we have the courage to really speak to that, we also recognize the other side, which is our joy doesn't know race or color or creed or background or whatever it is. You got it? So you can get to the other side. If you're willing to go down deeply enough in yourself, you come up in everybody else. You come up in everybody else. And that's when we can be of greatest value, Gerald. When we get down deep enough, get up, keep going, you will come up as the possibility of hope for somebody else, as the way out for somebody else, as the vote of courage and encouragement for somebody else. That there's a way. That way is always trying to present itself to us, no matter what conversation we are living inside of, whether we inherited that conversation or that conversation is original to us. When we're ready for a bigger conversation called My Life Just Works, your life will start working in your favor, because the world is bent. The universe is bent on your side. Wants to give you a double portion. Aoife, you're sitting in the audience. She has a tagline on her email. She says, "There's plenty, have more." And I just love that. And so we want to support you with some new thoughts. Aoife, did you want to come up here? Okay. Okay. You're being volunteered up. Okay. Okay, we'll wrap up with James and Brenda. Okay. I know.
I don't know where to start. Okay, well, how about just what I'm dealing with right now? I recently was able to spend several hours a day with myself because I don't have a job. And so I committed to giving myself to myself and really tackling head on all of my self-worth, self-esteem, all the things that I thought should be happening in my life that were not happening, and started to remember things that happened to me in my childhood, and understand why I believe certain things that well, first of all, understanding that I believe certain things about myself that I was not willing to admit.
So you woke up to things that you believe about yourself that you wouldn't kind of openly admit?
Yeah, I would never say that.
Would you
And I
throw it
would
out?
never
Is there-
teach that.
But give us a for example, because this might connect to somebody else.
For example, I'm not enough. That I really did believe that, and had a lot of creative ways to tell myself that I wasn't enough at any given time.
Such as?
Well, oh, I should be at my best if I'm going to do that. I'm not at my best, so I won't do that. I'm not properly prepared. I don't have the training to do that. I don't have the look. I'm not going to, that's probably not my thing. Or, all these different stories that I made up about why I wouldn't do it. And so, why I wouldn't do any given thing. And so I would spend a lot of time doing nothing and criticizing other people. And generally show up as a nice person. But nice, not loving and compassionate and authentic nice, but nice like, oh no, you go ahead, nice.
Ooh.
So, and that was not the person that I wanted to be. It was not the person that I was in my heart. But that's what I had to admit to myself I was showing up as.
And when you had that realization, what opened up for you?
Well, a few things. I had a series of conversations with family and friends that were then more authentic. And I set some boundaries in my life.
Okay.
I set some major boundaries and carved out time for myself because I was always willing to put other people before me so that I could always say, I'm too tired to do this or that thing for myself. Or I didn't have time to do that, which was what I was called to do. And noticing,
So in that you've established boundaries. Give us an example of one boundary that you've set.
One boundary that I've set is that the time that I spend in meditation, the time that I spend daily vocalizing, the time that I don't compromise that time.
Okay.
And
I call those, by the way, no-fly zones.
yeah, that's
You just
exactly
have
what
to
they
have
are.
some
And even
some
on my
no-fly zones.
schedule, they say non-negotiable. And so when I give people access to my calendar and say, you can schedule this or that thing, there are things on there that are non-negotiable. If you touch those things, we're probably not going to do business.
Mm.
And I feel like in some areas I may have overcorrected, but it's a practice. And so I want to take it to the extreme so that I get it in my system. And that is the gift that I'm giving myself.
Well, I think what's really important in what Aoife is saying is you've got to know how to work you. If you don't know how to work yourself, you will leave it to other people to suggest for you the best way. You take my advice. Do you get what I'm saying? But what's going to work for you? In my coaching practice, people come and they actually, I remember one person in particular who came to me. He was a seaman. He actually used to steer these big ocean liners. And he had an accident, and it made it impossible for him to do that anymore. And so he was rebuilding his life and going back for recreating his life. And he hired me as a coach, and I began to work with him in the practice. And before we took off, some people will tell you exactly the best way of working with them. And he actually knew this. Some people come to me and say, Rev Kev, I need you to kick my butt for 12 weeks straight so I can get this book written. And some people need that. That works for some people for whatever reason. He said, Kevin, you never have to speak to me above a whisper. I'll get it. He says, I grew up in a household where they yelled and screamed and they were just violently verbal all the time. And he says, and it just breaks my spirit when someone's that way with me. So will you be gentle with me in your coaching process? It will create the best results in my life. So you're knowing what it will be for you that's going to support you in going where you want to go is perfect because you get to design your life to support that. You get that? And knowing yourself is the greatest gift you can give yourself. That's the key. So I'm glad you did the reflection and the self-work and all of that. Now it's about choosing to live daily in those insights. Like from those insights. I'm going to live my life from my insights and not my story. Not my story that I'm not prepared enough. Unless you're like doing, neurosurgery, most of the things that come to you as a desire, the ideas will equip you along the way. Every idea comes fully clothed with everything required to bring it into manifestation. And wrapped up in you is an idea of harmony, of sound, of music, that I just want, personally, I just want you to roar. That's really what I mean like roar what you have. Raw and unedited and free, and watch what comes back to you when you're playing it at the extreme level.
Okay.
Legrand the other day in one of our meetings raised this question that I want you all to consider. What would be possible for me if I lived my life unafraid? If I lived my life unafraid, what would I strive for? What would I reach for? What would I go for? What would I aim my life's energies toward if I lived my life unafraid? I'll just leave you with that. Let's give Aoife some love. Thank you, Aoife. Just a thought. Roar. We're roaring. Kathy, you want to come up and be the last one? Or was there anyone else? Yeah. Who's sitting in their chair being chicken as all possible? Just, okay. All right. That's okay. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Rev.
How you doing?
I'm doing terrific.
What's up?
Well, my question is, I've studied all this stuff for a long time, and I get it so much intellectually. But then I get stuck in living the day-to-day life, and I know that I'm the only one in my way, but I'm not quite sure how to get out of my way. Actually, I'm not able to get out of my way, and it gets frustrating.
The first thing that comes up for me is the phrase, left to my own devices. Left to my own devices, I self-destruct. That's what just popped up. Is that how you feel? And maybe it's not self-destruction, but it's throwing a stumbling block in your own way?
Yeah.
Yeah, left to my own devices. I surround myself, as I pointed out, with a posse of possibility, that I don't leave myself to my own devices. I surround myself with individuals who, when they see me leaning, they will say to me, Kevin, that's not who you say you are. I don't know what Kevin woke up this morning, but that's not the Kevin that I know. And so I'm surrounded by a team of people who hold me accountable to being who I know myself to be. I have a friend, David, and some days I come in here, and I have some times when I want to be a different version of myself, not the self that you'd like very much. And David can detect when I'm being that, and just kind of stops me. Says, hold on a minute. I wish I could. Hold on a minute. David is like Ned Flanders. Anybody know Ned Flanders? That's an inside job, inside joke. You'd have to know The Simpsons, but that's another story. But hold on a minute, Rev Kev. Just wait. Now I want you to think about why you're here. I want you to think about why you're here and what you have to do. So just stop, let it go, and breathe. And I go through this process with myself and with David and other people in my life who refocus me. And so what I would suggest, and if you don't, let's talk some more after this, but let's start finding the kind of people who can be in your life, who will take a stand for the life that you say that you're here to be about. And that may mean that you might have to do a friendship edit. Got that? Edit the quality of consciousness and individuals that you're surrounding yourself with to see if they're anywhere close to where you say you want to be in life. And if they're not, it may be time for us to kind of go friend shopping.
It's kind of a place where I'm at right now anyway. I am reconnecting.
Yeah.
Disconnecting, ready to reconnect.
So do you think you're worthy of the quality of friends, that will hold you to a place of your greatness rather than be conspirators in your mediocrity?
That's another place where I see myself getting in my own way, because vulnerability and intimacy and being anything other than self-reliant, I was brought up to be a person who does it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And
How's that working for you?
I'm ready to change.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, because you don't have to do it all yourself. There's just,
You can't.
there's no, absolutely.
You can't.
Absolutely. Do you realize that?
Yeah, well, one of the greatest lessons I learned is that it's not my job, it's God's job, and thank God.
Yeah, as I said last week, that man's limitation is God's invitation. But there's a point at which that there's some stuff that you're not going to know. You're not going to be able to do, you're not going to be able to figure out, and you don't have to learn. You can surround yourself with people who do know, who can figure it out. And imagine me without Anita. I can't even imagine. She's the smarts in the operation. I'm the looks. Of course, she would say it the opposite, but she wouldn't give me the looks either. She's the looks and the smarts. But do you understand that?
I do.
You get that? It's key. And I think that that's where you'll be able to cross-reference, you know, the quality of your thoughts and really start elevating the kind of conversations that you're having. Because it won't be run-of-the-mill stuff you're talking about. It'd be change the world kind of stuff. It'd be possibility kind of stuff. It won't be 11 o'clock news kind of conversation. Because those don't forward you. You realize that? Those make you cool among people who think news is living. You get that? You're just cool. You're in because you know the news. Doesn't mean you're living. When you're living, you're on the news. You're making the news and other people are talking about you. You got it? Try that one on.
Okay.
All right.
And I'll probably need some help, Rev.
Good. Then that's the first step. Just being open to that as I am open and receptive to receive my good. Together, everyone. I am open and receptive to receive my good. Yeah. Just live in that awareness, and then we'll start from there.
Okay.
All right?
Thank
Let's
you.
give Kathy some love. Thank you so much. You're awesome. So tonight we've had some powerful dialogue that can help us to rescript how we have our lives. And we can really come to see and feel and know at a cellular and cellular level that my life has value, that I'm here for a purpose, and no matter what, I'm going to discover it and live it. That I won't be bound by the shackles of history and conditioning from the world mind, but I am going to liberate my spirit, and I'm going to find the way and be about why I was here, why I was sent here. That's what this is all about, to get you out of your way so that you can get on your way. And you've got the keys. You've got all the tickets. You've got 5 tools that you can use to kind of install in your awareness so that you can, in fact, liberate your spirit and live from a place where life is a celebration, one after the other. I want to thank my guests. I want to thank those of you who participated in our discussion today. And I look forward to hearing all of your success stories and earning bragging rights so that I can be talking about you and your overcomings in the near future. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everybody. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.